Welcome back, everyone, to the Broker Room podcast. I'm Michael Simon, and today I'm thrilled to have with us Nicole Fiorelli. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, Nicole is just for our viewers here, Nicole is the founder and broker of Fiorelli Realty in Oxford, Connecticut. She went from a corporate HR and recruiting career at Sikorsky Aircraft to building a thriving 12-agent brokerage with a full-time administration. So, Nicole, having said that, I'll turn it over to you, and, we'll start from the beginning. Tell us about how your journey started and what led you to where you are today.
Yeah, so my journey really started in real estate. I was not interested in real estate at all. My husband called me. We had been engaged for a few months and we were looking at houses like our forever homes, really. And then he called me with this crazy idea. I was at work. I started crying. He was like, I don't want to buy our forever home yet. I want to really take advantage of the FHA program and get a few multifamilies so we can start generating like passive income. We all know it's not that passive, but passive income in that way. And we were working with a friend who was an agent at the time. He was not from Connecticut originally. I've grown up here, born and bred here. I've never really moved outside of like southwestern Connecticut. So we decided, okay, let's just take this jump and do this. It just made more financial sense for us down the road. And in working with our friend, he was just saying to me the whole time, you should really get your real estate license. You have such a network here. Like everybody knows who you are. You'd probably do really well with it. I wasn't very interested, but I ended up getting my license because my husband and I really enjoyed being landlords and investing in property that way. I didn't want to bother my friend. It wasn't his full-time job. So I ended up getting my license just for ourselves, like to buy property personally for us. And then people started asking me to help them because they saw what we were doing and building, and I started helping others. So it could just kind of snowballed into more. I was managing a recruitment team for Aetna and CVS at that point. That was a 30-person team there. I was traveling a lot, and I had about 10 deals going at one time, and it became really overwhelming. And I couldn't be there for my clients in Connecticut while I was traveling for my other job. So we sat down, we talked about it, and decided that it would be better if I chose one and stuck to it, and real estate has no ceiling. So it just really made sense for me. Like, if I'm putting in all of these hours, why not have it focused on something with no cap? So I went full on into real estate right away, jumped right in. I had that sales experience from recruiting, even though you don't think of recruiting as sales, it still is sales. And I had a lot of sales training because of it. So I just applied those skills and what I learned from the recruitment into real estate and just like focused on prospecting every single day, pop buys. I did phone time, floor time, and really like treated it like a business because it is. And it just kind of took off from there. I started at a smaller brokerage and then I went to a more national level broker in Oxford. And then I had a team. Somebody asked me to mentor them. And I said, I wanted to wait until my kids were older, maybe in like kindergarten or older, but I do really want to help this person. So I created the Nicole Fiorelli real estate team. And that ended up growing into 7 more agents over the next like 2 years. And at that point, I thought about it and I decided to get my broker's license. I didn't even plan on opening my own brokerage at that time. I ended up opening my brokerage. My family owns a business across the street from my old brokerage. They said, we have this space. Why don't we just share it? You have your broker's license. Why don't you just go out on your own? And I was like, that's not a bad idea. Like I did think about it. I never say never to anything because you never know what the future holds. And I didn't expect anybody to come with me, to be honest. I thought
Yeah.
they would probably stay at that. I said it was a national brokerage. It's actually a global brokerage we were at. And I just assumed they would stay. But I gave them the option. Hey, if you want to come, I have to build it from the ground up. If you want to come, I would love to have you. Everybody came with me, not one person stayed. And now we've grown into a 15-person brokerage. We have full-time office support, and we have some really high producers here. And to look at where I started last January, so it's been almost a year and a half, and where I am today is just, it's crazy because we've grown so much. I really didn't think it would happen that quickly, and it wasn't always my goal either. I thought I'd just be, working on my own and for myself, but here
Mhm.
we are. And I think that corporate background and having that managerial background in the recruitment space has really helped and translated very well into how we run the office and just like expectations for the systems we have in place. Like most people think of real estate brokerages that are only like a standalone or brick and mortar with one location as like a mom and pop shop. But
Yep.
I'm so used to having these like seamless systems and very like high end delivery.
Yeah.
I think that is what separates us in our area anyway. Like I look at everything as like a luxury client would. I want this to look perfect. So that's been the focus. And here we are today.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, the journey you've had, and not only the journey, but the growth, as well. So much done in under just a year and a half. And like you said, with your background, between the leadership and the sales experience, getting your broker's license, that was sounds like the perfect storm, really. And things have been going well. Love to hear that. So, as we sit here today, can you talk a little bit about what your practice primarily, focuses on in terms of, your agents and you?
Yeah, so we primarily focus on residential sales.
Mhm.
We cover all of Connecticut. Any agent can work in any market that they want to, but we're primarily in southwestern Connecticut. We do work with our local commercial clients as well. So we have some commercial listings for like industrial land. We have a drive-through kitchen that we just listed, which is really cool. So, I mean, like I said, the opportunity is there for whatever the agents want to turn it into. If they're interested in commercial, my husband has a great background in corporate commercial leasing. So
Yep.
sometimes I bring him in if I need him to meet with our higher end clients on the commercial side because he can really speak to that. And while he's not an agent himself, he understands that world very well and kind of what the end customer would want. So I think that really translates very well.
Yeah, so primarily residential, and then, agents can kind of go off on their own and focus on other, targeted niches if they wish.
Right, exactly. I would
Mm.
say that most of ours are luxury listings in the area. So, like,
Okay.
Oxford has a really higher price point than a lot of the surrounding towns. So, we do get some higher price points here.
Sure, sure. In Oxford. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that's like what, an hour commute from New York?
Yeah, it ends up being about an hour and a half, hour and 15, hour and a half on a good day. Depends
Yeah.
on traffic. Most
Okay.
people that do commute here from New York, like I have actually, there's a lot of people in Oxford that do work in New York City, but they have to leave around like 5 a.m. to get there and
Oof.
beat the traffic. People do
Yeah.
it though every day. Some of my friends.
Yeah, so it's not just, the Oxford area, but you see a lot of folks from the tri-state area as well too that you work with?
Yes, yes. So yeah, even from like Long Island, we have a few people that have moved here from Long Island, Massachusetts, because we're like right in between New York and Boston. It's a really easy ride if you just take 80 freeway.
Okay. Excellent. And, now that we've kind of established, the surrounding area, what trends would you say, you're seeing right now on the ground, whether it be, inventory, buyer behavior, pricing? We're about almost 5 months into the new year. So, anything changed so far this year that was different from last? When I talk to, a lot of people on here, they always talk about how the industry is ever changing. So just wanted to get your take on that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So I feel like no matter how long you've been in the business, I've now been in real estate for over 10 years.
Mm.
I get on the phone with agents every day that are like, in my 30 years of selling real estate, I've never seen this happen. So if somebody tries to tell you they know everything about it and they've experienced everything, that cannot be true because it's always changing. The laws are always changing. So the way I look at it, I think that price points have definitely gone up since last year in our area. At like people will tell you they've kind of plateaued, but the thing is we have such a housing shortage in Connecticut and we're not building not much land that you can buy to build a lot of new homes at one time. So we really do have that housing shortage here. So the price points are still climbing.
Yeah.
Um that's one change. And then another change I would say is buyers are definitely way more educated than they were in 2021. Sellers tend to expect the amount or the ratio like over asking that they're used to seeing from 2021 to 2023. I
Yeah.
would say that's slowed down a bit. There's not as much of a gap in the list price versus sale price. You'll have one offs that are different and just maybe they were priced very low to start So they go like 100K over asking, but that's not the norm anymore. I would
Right.
say you're still within 10% of the asking price versus the closed price. So, we do have a really heavy buyer demand because of the housing shortage itself. I myself even have clients I've worked with since 2021. They were pre-approved at that time for a certain number, and now it's they can't even look at the same houses that they did at that point. They may be earning more, but the inflation rate was just so much faster than their income has increased. So that's really tough. And a lot of them have ended up renting. They want to wait to buy. Unfortunately, the prices just keep going up. So it's just, I'm hoping it plateaus at some point just because it's like our neighbors, it's our community. Like they need somewhere to live, they need somewhere to raise their families. And it's really tough.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the folks I've talked to, whether it's, on the East Coast where we're located or even on the West Coast or even Central, that's the one pattern I'm still seeing. There's such a housing shortage, like almost everywhere. And, obviously it's going to be a big challenge as we try to navigate towards it with interest rates still pretty high and inflation. Then you've got the war, the gas, which is
Yeah.
certainly not helping much. Looking ahead at the challenges, in addition to the housing shortage, is there any other big challenges you foresee for the remainder of the year right now?
I mean, I think I do anticipate there's gonna be a lot more inventory within the next month. I know
Mhm.
even myself, I have about 7 listings in town, and we usually only have, like, 14 to 15 available at one time. They
Yep.
all would like to list in May because historically, if you look at, like, the pricing, the highest sale price will occur in June. That
Yep.
means they listed either in late April, early May. So they are waiting, but I wanna know I'm curious to see how it plays out once we're listed and how many other agents have been waiting to list their homes for May as well,
Mhm.
or how many other sellers wanted to wait until May. So, another challenge though, I mean, something that'll really affect it is the interest rate. I
Yeah.
think we all see the headlines, "Oh, it's coming down, it'll come down, they're calling for cuts," but I mean, we haven't seen them actually happen. We reached just under 5% a few weeks ago, but now we're back up again over
Yeah.
6. So that makes it a little unattainable for some people because if you look at a 5% or 5.5% rate versus a 6.5, that could be a big difference depending on the sale price.
Absolutely. Had high expectations that around May we would start to see them come down a bit, but again, with all of the uncertainty that we have going on all over the world, I wish I had a crystal ball. I can't really say for sure. I do think though that the shortage will get better with time, but for now, time will tell.
Yeah.
And we were just talking on a pretty macro level. I want to get back to micro a little bit here, on your end. So, with 12 now, is it 12 agents or 15 now?
We have 15 in the office.
15. Okay. So with, 15 agents and a full office, what would you say are the biggest operational or growth challenges you're facing today?
So I think it's really just knowing when you need to pivot and adjust your support. I
Mhm.
think as far as the systems we have in place, like I feel very like confident. I was literally just at lunch talking about how I feel today versus last year. And I feel like a lot less stressed. Like I
Mhm.
have the systems down. We all know how to use them. You know, when like it's even the little things that you don't consider before opening, like cutting checks for everybody, sending commission and everything. Like those things are just the little tedious things that you do as an office manager. So I think the challenge is knowing when to add more administrative support. When do I hire an office manager? I have an administrative assistant. She's mine directly. She offers support to the office. She's super helpful. But when we enter busy season, now I'm bringing in a virtual assistant to tackle all of the um, like tasks and things that she doesn't need to be bogged down with that she can handle throughout the rest of the year. But just anticipating that and like knowing when you need to add staff in that way, just I think from being a smaller brokerage, like that's important for me to just have a pulse on. When is it
Mhm.
time to add? When is it time to take away? So I think the virtual assistant is the best way to do it because I don't want to bring on somebody local and then need to cut them when we're not in busy season.
Yeah, yeah, fully agreed. And I'm happy you brought up the virtual assistant too, because that's going to lead right into the next topic I wanted to bring up with you, and that is course, AI. So, when we look at AI, you just talked a little bit about it there, but, how have you seen it so far, just in your personal opinion, affect the industry and then, by extension, your practice specifically?
So I am somebody who embraces AI, I think. Like we've been utilizing it every time I hear that it can do something else to help our business. I like to implement it, test it myself, see if it's something I really trust and I'm comfortable with. Even something simple like we have an AI receptionist. Now I don't have to pay somebody to sit here and answer phones all day.
Hmm.
That's helped me a lot. I mean, that's a big cost if I just brought in a receptionist to handle our inbound phone calls. I like the AI in that aspect. I think it's good for like when leads come in, routing wise, and through our CRM that we use. Like it makes things faster. Like it helps us hit our customers faster and like get back to them faster. So I do think that's good in that way. Something I will say that I don't love is I can tell when we have a new client and where the questions are coming from. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they definitely chat GPT'd like what to ask for this. For example, we have a buyer who was a referral to us from a lending partner. They're working with one of our agents, and she told me they were asking all of these things about they were really listing agent driven questions, like, if you're representing, like, a buyer and a seller at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's good to know and talk about. We have that disclosure within our paperwork anyway, but the additional questions, and I don't remember specifically what they were, but you could tell it was just from ChatGPT or Gemini, something just giving a list of questions to ask, and it really wasn't they were not all applicable to representing a buyer. So I
Hmm.
feel like you can get a little off track that way. Um, they don't know the specific state laws. Real estate laws are different in every single state. So when we get like if you chat GPT it, you're an agent, you chat GPT it, "Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that?" Like if you need help through the MLS, it's not always accurate. You need to actually go or contact the MLS and ask them how to do what you need to do. There was something else about, like, even just getting your Supra key. We were getting a new agent started and getting your e-key, which is that Bluetooth connection to your phone to the lockbox to get the key out.
Hmm.
It incorrect instructions on how to set it up. So I do think, like, AI is great and I love it. Like, I want to embrace it as much as possible. You have to go in with the mindset that it's not always 100% accurate, and you should ask the person that can help you with it instead for some things. Like, don't rely on it 100%.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, look, I am all on board with AI as well, especially, with my own AI automation agency now. But, there's just certain things where you're still going to need, that human interaction, especially when it comes to buying a home. I mean, buying a home is one of the most, emotional and toughest decisions a person can make in their life. And while having AI can certainly help streamline the process, make it more convenient, a little less stress free, it's ultimately, not gonna replace the agent itself. I mean, maybe every now and then you'll have a one-off random event. I don't know if you heard about this, but there was actually a guy in Florida who used, I think it was Claude, to sell his home, and he did do the whole process with it, but even knowing that it can and has been done, for me personally, that just kinda weirds me out a bit. I prefer much more practical applications for it, like you had mentioned, like the virtual assistant, taking the calls, CRM, lead automation. That's what I think not only the business owners are going to benefit from, but the consumers as well. And then to tack onto that further, what you said about being very, AI forward thinking, pretty much actually all of the agents I've spoken to on the podcast have that similar mindset because we're all on the same page where we know that AI is not going to replace them. But at the same time, what it is going to do is if you take an agent who doesn't use AI versus one who does, it's just going to widen that gap. And then, in more favor of the agents who do implement the AI. So that's where I think it's going as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's cool to hear, I guess, that like someone was able to sell their house using an AI assistant that whole time.
Yeah.
But that's goes back to what I mentioned before when I brought up that it's like not 100% accurate. It doesn't really know the laws. And it actually really concerns me they did that in Florida because they're not an attorney state. So you
Mhm.
really like, if it were me, it's a huge financial decision. Like, you could be leaving money on the table, you could be leaving, like, yourself at risk for disclosing purposes, like something else in play
Yeah.
that was totally missed
Mhm.
and it could come back to haunt them later if it was because, like I said, it's not an attorney state. They hire title companies for that, and the agent has actually a lot more responsibility going to closing. And I know this because it's a reciprocal state, and a lot of people who live in Connecticut have houses in Florida. My parents
Sure.
just purchased one there, so I do know how intense that process was. They have a little bit more responsibility at the end, whereas in Connecticut, our attorneys handle the closing and the breakdown of all of, like, the financials.
Yeah, it's certainly not a, simple process to say the least. I'm still surprised too how it managed to get done. I'll have to send you the article after, but yeah, he did complete the process, but like what you said, something could have been missed, and I'm going to be very curious to see if I don't know, maybe in the next month or so in the future, we see like, oh, guy who sold his house through AI in Florida actually got in trouble and something was messed up.
It's possible.
So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that. And again, speaking of, we're just talking a little bit about the future and how AI is going to affect it. As we come up on the tail end of time here, looking ahead on the next, 6 to 12 months from now, where would you like, your realty company to be? And I mean, you've already had tremendous growth so far over the next year and a half. Are you looking to attain more agents, higher production per agent, new service lines? What would that
Yeah.
look like for you?
Yeah, so I actually I mean, I don't have a maximum on the amount of agents that I would hire. I just really want to focus on bringing on people who truly want to be here and, like, love the environment that we provide.
Yeah.
I like to look at myself as, like, a very hands-on mentor if that's the support you want. Like, I have an agent who joined from another smaller brokerage in the area, and he was like, "I need to be held accountable every day. I need to, like, know what to do every single day." So we do daily huddles. I meet with all of the agents who join at 9:30 a.m. on Google Meet. So having, like, those what I think are small things to do. There's not many agencies that do that.
Yeah.
So it really is like thinking about the agents, supporting the agents, giving them what they need to succeed because it's not cheap to have your real estate license if you're not selling any properties. If you want to have it, we have and like just not really produce highly. You don't have to join those meetings. I have a dual model that I rolled out. So I call one legacy, which I treat like a team. There's a tiered commission structure based on your production. So once you hit those levels, so say you close 15 deals in a year, your commission automatically increases. You don't have to come back to negotiate with me. Like, I would rather be offering like a for performance structure because
Yeah.
I did not have that in the past. So that's just the first tier. We actually have 3 tiers that you can move up. And if anyone wants to hear about it, contact me. But yeah, so that's one structure, and I treat it like a team. You get leads through us, you get my sphere because I'm not working with buyers directly anymore. So anyone who would like to represent buyers, I'm referring out to our agents who are part of that legacy structure. I also let agents come on as co-listing agents with me because I want them to get that exposure. If they want to be a listing agent, I want the community to recognize them as one. So it gives them the opportunity to really position themselves as a co-listing agent or a listing agent. They could send out mailers about their new listing, like treat it as your own. So it really helps them like leverage and like launch their business in that way.
Yeah.
I also have another model that we're offering for elite agents, I call it. So that is a higher split model. It basically mirrors most cloud-based brokerages. So I don't provide all of like the CRM and some of the systems. Maybe you don't want it. Maybe you don't care. You have your own and you're paying for it already. But that one's a higher split model. It's 85 percent to the agent split, and then you cap at $100,000.
Okay.
Yep. So then you cap, and there's just a small transaction fee of 350 per transaction for
Mhm.
any further transaction, and it resets every year. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to have the option to like support the agents in the way that they want it.
Yeah, I love that because, obviously whenever you join an adventure like real estate, you have to you kill what you eat. And, it can be a little overwhelming, but when you have that mentorship in the way you just described, keeping people accountable, that's really how you're going to help, retain them, make sure they're doing well. And then I like the options that you give them as well, too, for, you know, whatever suits their practice, their preferences. So love that also.
Yeah.
And just one more quick question to follow up on that. Which one do you typically see most agents go with out of curiosity from those two options you mentioned?
I do not have anybody here who has gone with our elite, which is the high split
Yeah.
option. Everybody that works for me right now wants to be on the legacy because
Yeah.
they want the leads. They need the work and the support. So they have the option if they ever want to change just because you sign up with legacy, you can always transfer over to elite. I don't doesn't matter to me. Like I want the agents to be happy. I don't want them to feel like I'm pigeonholing them to one model that doesn't fit them anymore. So it's up to them. But all of them are on legacy right now, and they like the production-based tiers and getting the leads and the support.
Love that. And
Yeah.
so, Nicole, as we're coming up on time here, one question that I always like to end at towards the end of the podcast is, for anybody considering a career in real estate today, what advice would you have for them?
I would say be realistic with what your capabilities are on your own. I myself was on a team before. It was amazing for my growth. Like I had a wonderful mentor. He's still one of my really good friends and he's so supportive. I actually saw him yesterday. I showed one of his houses he has listed. But I think that's so important is knowing it's a small industry. We're in a small state.
Mhm.
So treat everybody professionally and with kindness. And because you're going to end up probably working with them again. So that's important. And then also, just what I was saying before, like be realistic with your capabilities. You haven't done this before. I think people get licensed and they're like, oh, why didn't this person hire me? Well, you don't have the experience yet, and they don't look at you as the market expert. So it just takes time. Don't like jump in and then join, say, like a company with a super high split, but absolutely no support at all. And then you end up just not selling anything. Just, I think being a little humble in that way is important. It happened to me. I honestly started out that way. I was at one point, that's where I first started. I had maybe just 2 sales and they were with friends. And
Yeah.
I was looking around. I'm like, how do I grow this business? How do I get people to look at me and want to hire me in that way? And it took me joining that team, having more direction to get to that point.
Yeah. Hands-on approach is always best. Totally agree with that. And Nicole, that's going to do it for us. This has been absolutely fantastic. You've given us a really honest look at what it actually takes to grow a brokerage firm from the ground up while still staying true to your community roots as well. So, for everyone listening who wants to connect with or learn more about you and your practice, where can they go to find out more?
They can go right to our website. It's fiorellirealty.com.
Mhm.
Do you need me to spell it?
No, that's okay. I'll make sure to put it in the description. But yes, fiorellirealty.com.
Yes.
So excellent. Thank you again, Nicole. We really appreciate you coming on. Hope you have a good one.
You too. Thank you.